Welcome, everyone, to today's DIR Shared Technology Services webinar. We are recording today's webinar and we will be making it available to our listeners after today's webinar through our external portal. We'll be dropping that link in our chat, and we will also be showing that link at the end of today's webinar so that you will be able to revisit this information at a later date. Today, we will be presenting on shared technology services for local governments, specifically with a focus on the counties of the state of Texas. DAR Shared Technology Services is a large program, and we will be focusing on one piece of that today, which is data center services. My name is Carrie Davey. I am the MSI Director of Communications Outreach and Growth, and we will talk shortly about what that MSI acronym stands for. First, let's take a look at what our agenda is for today. We will be talking about a few pieces that sit within the Data Center Services program, namely Public Cloud Manager, Texas Private Cloud, and Print, Mail, and Digitization. Then before we wrap up today, we'll remind you where you can go to access all of the webinars that we put on for Shared Technology Services offerings, as well as how you can get more information and come and join us in the STS program. So I told you that my title is the MSI Director of Communications Outreach and Growth. And what that means is multi-sourcing services integrator. DIR Shared Technology Services, as I said, is multi-parts. You can see here that we're made up of data center services, texas.gov, managed security services, and the open data portal. The multi-sourcing services integrator, or the MSI, sits over those as a governance arm. In addition to governance, we provide several pieces of service, such as customer relationship management, a marketplace to include a service catalog, business management, operations management, and service management. What that means from an MSI perspective is that we define the policies and procedures that all of our customers and service providers follow. So, no matter which piece of shared technology services a customer is consuming, their experience is the same. We have one invoice and one configuration management database, and we all work together across multiple providers to provide the services to the eligible customers in the state of Texas, such as the counties. You can see here a drill into the data center services program. This is the root of shared technology services and where we got our start about 10 years ago. Our goal was to shore up the infrastructure and the security of the state of Texas and to allow our agencies and other state entities, such as higher education, to focus on their mission instead of worry about the security of their infrastructure. Over time, as we expanded to add those other services, such as Texas.gov and managed security services, which we focused on in last month's webinar for counties, we really started with this data center services program and have continued to evolve it over time. As such, we have several pieces that are relatively new to us within shared technology services, such as our security operations team and technology solution services. Security operations works as another governance umbrella to make sure that all of the other pieces within data center services are always at their most secure. And technology solution services offers those with infrastructure within data center services additional offerings, such as modernization of legacy applications, consulting on future strategies and technology planning, as well as assistance during delivery of projects. You can see those 5 different branches within data center services at the bottom and how each of our different services are provided by different best-in-class vendors. So I work for Capgemini there at the top, and we have speakers for you today from most of our other representatives, with a focus from Rackspace, Atos, and Xerox, who will be telling you about their spaces. So with that, now you have a little bit of background on what shared technology services and data center services are about. I'd like to introduce Joe Nanis from Rackspace, who is representing our public cloud manager. Hi, Joe.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Carrie.
So you have plenty of stuff to tell us, but I think you're going to start off with an overview of what public cloud does in data center services. So if
Yes,
you'd like to
ma'am.
go ahead and introduce yourself, you can take it away.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Hi, everybody. My name is Joe Nanis. I am the Outreach and Growth Manager for Rackspace Technology, who I'm very excited today to speak with you as Rackspace is the Public Cloud Manager for the Data Center Services Program. And we look to cloud as a solution and a tool that, while very effective, It's been a solution that's been a little bit of a challenge in some cases to public sector customers due to procurement processes and procedures. Well, DIR has made this easy through this DCS program. Not to mention when you start talking about cloud and any efforts around cloud, the support, the maintenance, and then continuing to reach out to your own internal customers and external customers can be a bit of a challenge. Through DIR's efforts, the DCS program brings to bear the power of the possible via the cloud. We work with all of the major cloud providers. We work also with the provider ATOS for the Texas private cloud to ensure that we're providing the right solutions to the state of Texas customers. Not only that, but also expanding that out to counties. We have skilled resources to support each area, as well as specific skill sets that are focused on the nuances that each cloud provider or hyperscaler, as we refer to them, may be providing or may be talking to you directly about. Not only can we assist you and your team and support your efforts based on the level of support you may need, be this in a sandbox environment or a semi-managed environment or the fully managed public cloud solutions. One thing I do share is if you and your team are already talking with any of the hyperscalers or cloud service providers or cloud provider, please include us in that discussion. We can also work with the other partners in the DCS program, such as TSS and the Texas Private Cloud, to ensure that we're collaborative in our approach and give you several different options versus going your standard route outside of the DCS program. There is a lot to gain from the Data Center Services program. And through that, there's been a lot of investments from regards to what the state has done and what the partners here have done, even to what the hyperscalers have done. And by that, I mean AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. Each one of the hyperscalers are committed to assisting public sector entities within the state of Texas. They have established training processes specific for the DCS program to share with your resources to help in assisting you and your team take advantage of the cloud. Of course, always we do this with security top of mind as we continue to enhance and develop the security, not only at the core, but all the way to the edge. Public cloud brings about an overall value of allowing you to be able to actually accept or receive infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and then software as a service. These all being tooled to work in an area or in an environment that is scalable, flexible, and has bursting capability, all while not requiring you to oversubscribe, but billing you based on what you actually utilize. The program has grown over time, and through additional work of the hyperscalers and the state agencies, we've seen more movement to the cloud than ever before. If you leave this webinar with one thought today, I would want that thought to be that Texas DIR has established a program and through the assimilation of best-in-class providers have set up success through the public cloud, private cloud, through providing this for all public sector entities across the state of Texas. In doing so, they're leading the effort to make cloud a viable, reliable, and secure option for all. So as you consider your IT solutions, remember the DCS program. Let's have a discussion about what you're trying to do and see how the program can truly assist you and your team. What we have seen when we've met with state agencies and getting with them as they have been working with some of the hyperscalers on their own is many times things can be lost in translation. When we can sit down and pull in other partners, the TSS team, the Texas Private Cloud team, and have discussions with state agencies and other public sector entities, we're able to bring about more clear understanding of how we can work collaboratively together to actually achieve what you may be already working towards with one of the hyperscalers, but do that in a manner that allows you to use the benefits of the program. So we give you choice around this. from the standpoint of how you leverage and best work with in any platform around public cloud, tiered levels of support, and also, again, working to ensure that if you need to customize something, that we have the right partners at the table through the DCS program to assist in that. Of course, all of these are competitively priced, as Texas Department of Information Resources have done a great job going out and negotiating contracts on behalf of the state of Texas and the public sector entities here, and passing along some really great enterprise level volume discounts to smaller agencies and smaller municipalities that may not be able to leverage their own buying power to the degree that the great state of Texas can. Jerry, I think that takes us to our next slide, and that's where I'm going to hand it off to my teammate, Alex Garcia.
Thank you, Joe. Hello, I'm Alex Garcia. I am the Customer Success Account Manager for the Texas DIR program. I work with the PCM team here with Rackspace to help support Texas DIR. Essentially, Office 365 through Microsoft has become the gold standard for email services for business. Through the Texas DIR program, essentially, we've pre-negotiated preferred rates and pricing with all of the Office 365 products. So essentially an extensive catalog of products that you would normally get through Microsoft directly, you can obtain through the shared services portal for a preferred rate. So DCS provides automation and secure enterprise access to Office 365 services. And of course, we offer Microsoft benefits, including planning services, deployment services, training vouchers, and problem resolution support. We also provide the agencies, the option for testing environments when they want to deploy, let's say, a new product or feature, and they're not ready to deploy it in their production tenant. We'll provide the quarterly product optimization reviews and essentially meet with our product team to make sure that we get you the right type of license that can fit your business needs. And of course, we'll offer enterprise contract management support from DIR. Next slide, please. So essentially, whenever we have an agency that's ready to move to the Office 365 platform, essentially, we'd open up a request for solution ticket through the Texas DIR portal once you're a member of the program. Essentially, we can then have a use case to support a migration or an Azure Active Directory health check, any health assessments for your infrastructure to see if maybe there are any security infrastructure needs that we maybe need to take a look at in your tenant. And so once we have a solution deployed for you, we can then go ahead and in turn take a look at licensing and add that to your product and making sure that we have the support that you need.
And Alex, is there anything different for a county, say, versus a state agency when they're looking at 365 licensing?
Well, they do have access to the same products, and at the same discounted rate that some of the larger agencies do. So essentially, because we're all in state government and local government, security is of utmost importance. So essentially, if you need those higher value SKUs that Microsoft has that have the higher security packages, like for example, the Microsoft 365 E5 suite, we can get that at a preferred rate compared to the regular Microsoft Pride if you were to go directly through Microsoft.
Great, thanks.
All right, we'll go ahead and hand it back over to Joe.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Alex. As we talked earlier, this is about enterprise software as a service on the call. Salesforce as a service is processed through SaaS licensing that is available to DCS customers. They can also procure this on a government cloud solution. And then through procuring this, This allows for the solution to be purchased at upfront discount rate that has been negotiated by DIR to share with public sector entities based on the overall volume of the state of Texas. Again, sharing you some great pricing through the DIR Data Center Services program. The benefits of procuring, not only just the cost associated with that, is you get to access the Salesforce solution to provide government organizations a multitude of functions. If you think about this, we're talking about outreach programs, permitting and inspections, case management, grant management, learning management, and even donor management. The platform as a service is secure, private, scalable, and reliable. In addition to that, thinking about security again, since security is front of mind whenever we start talking IT, and specifically when we start talking about cloud, either be it public or private. The platform has been FedRAMP certified since 2014 and is IL4 listed. Salesforce is a market leader with continuous innovation, and the benefit to the DCS customers is no cost for the upgrades. We'll go to the next slide, please, Jerry. Salesforce runs on a multi-tenant single code based. It's allowing organizations to take advantage of continuous innovation. This kind of goes back to the no cost for upgrades. Through upgrading at no cost 3 times a year, this will allow customers to take immediate advantage of the latest product features, security enhancements, and additional services capabilities. That's App Exchange, private App Exchange, mobile first, mobile everything, or configuration and deployment around that piece of it. Having those set up, those upgrades being more automated into the functionality of the software, and receiving those at no cost 3 times a year really allows for customers to benefit from the innovation that's been doing Salesforce platform and software. So these licenses are managed through the DCS program. They're renewed against a state budget schedule, so it falls in line with typically what most customers want to do. Eliminates maybe a little bit of the coterminous process that you have to do in many cases when you have licenses that are not aligned. It provides access to acquire new licenses and or new technologies, such as MuleSoft. And it brings also Salesforce purchases in line with contracts as well as the CMDB contracts model. So are you a current customer? If so, then you can work with the DCS program and the team to move your Salesforce environment into the DCS program. Leveraging the cooperative efforts of the partners that make up the DCS team configuration, and migration needs can be met as well as ongoing support and licensing that can be provided to give you the most from the tools like Salesforce that you and your organization use. Regardless if you're using Salesforce today or other SaaS solutions, I encourage you and your teams to look at the DIR Data Center Services programs and the benefits of leveraging the public cloud and the software as a solution that have been negotiated and locked in for you and others in the state of Texas. Next slide, please, Janae.
And Joe, I'm just going to have to let Gayla and Jason know that we'll probably only have about 7 minutes left for the TPC section. So as quickly as you could move through, we will appreciate that. And to our listeners, if you have any questions for any of our presenters, we would love to see those in our chat. Our attendees don't have the ability to unmute, but you can put your question there in the chat and we'll work it in with our presenters as they have a moment. So with that, we'll introduce Gayla.
Hi, I'm Gayla Mullins, and I am from the Texas Natural Resources Information System. And this is an organization that's part of state government that does, we do geographic data information out to the public. So we do have this program that is available through the DCS. It's called the Texas Imagery Service. And what it is access to aerial imagery. So the kinds of imagery that your GIS folk and your departments need to use in their GIS software. So the types of imagery they see in Google Maps and Google Earth, that's what I'm talking about here. So in the Texas Imagery Service, we have 6-inch pixel resolution imagery statewide. And basically what that means is that it's very high resolution imagery. You can see very good detail in the imagery. We have coverage from 2011 to the present, and our goals are to refresh the entire state in 6-inch imagery every 2 years. The information is available as a streaming service. It's a web mapping tile service. That's what WMTS is, or as a web map service. And most GIS systems can ingest this streaming link within the systems so that your analysts can overlay other data with the imagery. It is available as an annual subscription. It's available to anyone in Texas government, so all counties are included in that, and their approved private contractors. And agencies can join the program at any time for a prorated fee. And I have the link there to get more information about this. Next slide, please. So just what's available and coming up is all the imagery come from a company called Hexagon. They're a traditional mapping company. So we're very excited about the actual imagery content that is available. We have the entire state in there flown in 2020. We had 14 urban areas across Texas flown in 2021, and those are in the service now. Those same areas were flown earlier this year, and those are going to be coming to the service this July. And right now we are planning to have the state flown again towards the end of 2022 into 2023. And so we are in the planning stage of getting that organized right now. Next slide, please. And I'll just conclude with the pricing. It is a very cost-effective solution for you as opposed to contracting on your own with an aerial imagery firm. And again, this is all through the DIR DCS services. You can find Texas Imagery Services. The area at the top are the pricing tiers for state agencies. They come in at the minimum tier to begin with. We have costs for state universities. We have flat fees for regional agencies like a river authority. And then we have, for counties, we have a local agency cost of just $6,000 a year. And again, that can be prorated depending on when you join the program. And the service is available per your organization. So it's available to all users within your organization under that one participant fee. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gayla. And now we will introduce Jason to talk about remote file service.
Howdy, folks. So this is Jason Wicker with Rackspace. If we talk a little bit about the remote filers. So previously the program ran Cetera devices, which were physical appliances that would be put in the data center or in your local regional office and replicate information storage up to the cloud for that purpose. We've since kind of modernized that process by building out reference architectures for both Amazon and Azure to basically take advantage of much cheaper cloud storage, as well as still being able to provide some of the same functionality from an on-prem synchronization and be able to actually store at different tiers at different cost levels in the cloud while still providing access both to things like O365, other cloud assets, and then of course the agencies and the users and the various entities. So there's a lot of advantages for you here in the fact it's low cost, it's low entry. It grows on scale, so there's really no upfront commitment. If you start off by moving a gig today and tomorrow's a terabyte and next week's a gig, then That's fine. It all fits within the parameters of the program. You really only bill, as Joe was talking about earlier, for what you consume. Really nothing in particular special to make all of this work within the DCS program. It's just another modern, more advanced version of getting your files backed up, stored to the cloud, and then of course provide the easier access out to whether it be your constituents or whether it's your users or your partners to be able to get out there and share data. We have a lot of agencies that are doing this today for everything from their own employee user information and user shares out to things like places to host file requests or requests for discovery or public information requests. Because we can allow secure access and those kind of things. So we've been doing a lot of different projects in that area with agencies, and it's helped save a lot of money, and it really does drive the capital requirements out of storage, which is a big issue for a lot of folks, and allows you to move that to an expense-based model. Can we go on to the next slide? Now we're going to next after that one. So one of my favorite topics. So this is disaster recovery in the program. So within DCS, we have a well-prescribed and well-defined series of disaster recovery processes and architectures. I'm not going to read all this chart off to you, but we have basically 5 different classes. I always tell customers that the real thing about DR is to start at the bottom of this list and look at what your RTO and RPO are and what those requirements are, and then we build to that. So the advantage of working with the PCM Rackspace in the DCS program is that every time we do a build, every time we look at deploying a new account, a new architecture, a new infrastructure, we always want to have this disaster recovery class. Whether it's, hey, we don't care about it, we'll just get it back when we need it to be, or hey, this is runs health and human services back in infrastructure, and it has to be immediately real-time available. So what that means is that as we work with you and your third-party vendors and other of our partners within the DCS program to implement new applications, new platforms, and new infrastructure, we are always looking at it with the eye for disaster recovery. How do we get that back to state that you need to be able to run it? How soon can we do that? How quickly can we do that? In fact, I'm working with a program right now, just a particular use case that we're doing, where the agency itself is pretty blown away with how we've accelerated their disaster recovery process and really cut down what they were in the Class D range, and we were moving them into the Class B range, which is a huge impact, almost a 600% increase in time to response and time to recover. So with that, we also the DCS program working with Capgemini also manages the disaster recovery exercise process as well. And so not only do we actually work to go build out these DR architectures and work with the agencies and the customers to make sure that the application is going to be supported and we recover what needs to be recovered, but we're not spending too much money on disaster recovery, but we're just kind of running that fine line. In addition to that, Capgemini and the rest of the program actually will run annual, biannual, quarterly, however often you want to, disaster recovery tabletop and live exercises using these architectures. So not only we're building into this to a best spec and a best reference architecture, the program also provides you the ability to actually validate that, test that, run through the scenarios, and I can tell you these become quite detailed, right? So what are the steps that we have to do? And so this really becomes beyond just infrastructure as a disaster recovery, but within the program it becomes an end-to-end disaster recovery process that you can document, that you have documented, and that everybody knows what to do when something happens. God forbid it does.
Thanks, Jason. And that is it for our public cloud manager. And so it's a great segue for them to talk about disaster recovery, because then we're shifting our topic to our private cloud. So that's with our infrastructure here within the data center services where we manage that. So I'm now happy for Margie to introduce yourself and take it away.
Thank you, Carrie. I'm Margie Powers. I'm the client executive for Atos. And I'm here to highlight we offer quite a bit of services in the Texas private cloud, but today for counties, we do want to highlight 3 services. It's disaster recovery as a service. We're also going to highlight backup as a service. And then the third and the final, which is our newest service, is dark capacity, which I think We'll definitely work with the counties. I know I just came from a couple of conferences where I did meet up with some county representatives, and we were able to touch base on this. So I'm excited to deliver this message to you guys today. In Texas Private Cloud, we maintain 2 Uptime Institute Tier 2 data centers. They have been consolidated data centers. Autos, we've been here for about 10 years. And so we did some successful consolidation years back. And so we have the 2 data centers. One is in Austin, and the next one resides in San Angelo. We do host about 5,000 workloads there with between both data centers. And we also included the mainframe as well as the private cloud. We won't be talking about the mainframe today, but if a county is interested in some information, I'll be happy to help with that. Altos also supports more than 1,000 servers at customer locations or remote locations combined. The data is backed up over the wire to a consolidated data center. Then it's replicated to the alternate data center. So beefs up the disaster recovery. We rolled out software-defined network recently in 2020. And so this beefed up our disaster recovery, lots of built-in security, lots of built-in storage, et cetera, and made it a pretty revamped disaster recovery. Customers can perform DR tests throughout the year with assistance from Autos and then MSI, which is a Capgemini. So you can schedule tests throughout the year, and we're there to assist with these. This table kind of gives you the different classes, the DR classes that we offer. It also includes the RTOs and RPOs. RTO being recovery time objective and RPO being recovery point objective. As you can see, they're pretty good in the class 1 and through 5, with the 1 being the lowest RTO. It does require data replication, so we do a full automation in that one. And rolling out the SDN environment, we were able to do quite a bit of automation on this as well. With your class 2, it does require replication, so that's about 8 hours. Class 3 requires replication as well. That's 12 hours. From a county perspective, class 4 would be ideal for the counties in that it's a backup-based recovery. It is 48 hours for your data to be recovered, so it makes it really ideal for that particular area. Class B is your best effort. There's no guarantee recovery time. I don't really recommend that, but there's some applications that your county could probably accommodate in that area, but the focus here is mainly for class 4. Next slide, please. Want to introduce backup as a service. It's worked really nicely with agencies and I believe some counties that we support today. And so that's why I want to highlight this service for you all. Backup as a service is referred to an offering that allows customers to back up their data via the standard backup tool. We use Avamar. We use network and data domain, with Avamar being the largest we use today. So it makes it much easier for the customer data center wherever the data resides. It'll go through the DIR MPLS. It would hit San Angelo and then go through the grid replication and go to Austin Data Center. Depending on where you want to reside your data will be, it can be reversed. Autos will provide the agent, which the customer can then install. And then the customer can select the data to be backed up, the backup frequency, as well as the retention period, which makes it really nice for a client to choose. Data is then backed up over the wire to a consolidated data center and then replicated to the alternate site, which makes it very convenient. Next slide. The final offering that we do want to highlight today is Dart capacity. Under your DR classes, the 1 through 4, you do have a guaranteed RTO, RPO. The customer would know when their server will be recovered and available. However, when you get to class 5s, there's no guarantee on that. So right now, today in the program, the STS program, we've worked very closely with DIR to come up with a good offering like this. We do have about 674 servers of the 4,000 servers in the program that have a DR class of 1 through 4. And then we have industry best practice recommends about 50%. So what we did with that, We collaborated with the MSI, which is Capgemini recently, and went around and talked to our clients and said, this is your state of DR level today, and we'd like to recommend, you can get at a much better posture if you implement your dark capacity, which makes it more affordable. Cost is the reason customers cite most often for not utilizing the 1 through 4. They would have to stand up dual server platforms. In response to that, we developed with DIR, working closely with them, what this dark capacity offering, which we know can assist clients in getting the state's DR posture much better. In the dark capacity, it's a compute, it's a RAM, it's a storage, it's a reservation. It's a reservation for virtual resources. You can use it during a DR test and an actual event as it occurs. The reservation is represented by dormant. It's required by DR event or DR test. Then we would, at that point, turn it on and work with the agency on that, or county at this point. Customers can use dark capacity to serve as a DR target. That's where it becomes very affordable. Instead of setting up a whole server and an environment, you would set up dark capacity as that. And it could be served under the DR classes of 2 through 4. And as I mentioned earlier, dark capacity storage can be purchased when you're in DR class 4. 1 through 3, you don't, because it's replicated storage at that point. So both consolidated and non-consolidated servers can use dark capacity for DR. So that makes it a little bit more appealing if you have servers that are remote, et cetera, and also in your data centers as well. It can be used to provide a DR target. I think I mentioned that earlier. So if you have a class 5 today, just move it to class 4, and then you could have your not only dark storage, but you could also have the dark capacity at that point. This reservation charge, it's a fraction of what an active server would cost. It's about a third of what a full server, standing up a full server would cost. So that makes it really cost effective. We've had several clients already using it. They're excited about this, and we have a lot more that are coming. They're just preparing their environments for it. And we're excited about offering this to counties. If you guys are interested, we'd be happy to help you. And I do want to touch on one thing that Rackspace mentioned earlier. We are the private cloud, they're the public cloud, but at the end of the day, when we sit down with everyone, our clients, we do try to find the best solution for our client, okay? So you may go private, you may go public, but at the end of the day, we're going to make the best decision as to what the client needs. And that's exciting because we've collaborated with our colleagues on that. Thank you.
And that's a great point, Margie, and something that I was going to kind of latch onto as well with your presentation on dark capacity, because it's very similar, in fact, to the kind of story that I usually use for print mail, which is our next topic. How we as Shared Technology Services are offering something that everyone can take advantage of, and it's a situation where, just like within our agency customers, within the counties, there's a huge variety in size, right? We have some counties where there may be fewer than 100 people, up to some that are more than 1 million people. And so there's a very different level of need for IT services across that population. But when they come to us and Shared Technology Services, again, we're all working together both to share in what we're offering, because this offering in particular, right, that was something that you wouldn't necessarily be able to take advantage of if you were in a smaller program. But because we have enough um, people that are participating with us, it helps us expand what we can do. And also, like Margie mentioned, we even have built-in tools within our program, which is that Technology Solution Services arm I mentioned earlier, who also works with both the public and private cloud to help those customers decide where is the best place for them to go within STS. And I know you have one more slide, Margie. Did you have any
Yes.
comments on this one?
Yeah, this is a little bit of a busy slide, so but I do include it in here because it does list our DR classes with along with the RTOs and RPOs, but I've highlighted in bold, which makes it a little hard to look at, but kind of the class 1 through 5 where we offer the dark capacity in the far right, but in the middle it talks about a description where, like class 1 is data replication for the SAN, the vSAN, and data replication. It's a dedicated compute, so you would have to stand up an environment for that. Where you go to class 2, you have your dedicated repurposed, and then the dark capacity compute comes in there. For 3, it's the dedicated and then repurposed and then dark capacity. But I do want to highlight class 4 for the counties because it's been very appealing for them. We've talked to several counties on that. And that's the backup based. It's 48 hours. And you can purchase not only the dark capacity, but the dark storage, which makes it really nice. And like I mentioned earlier, we've automated all these items. That's why we've been able to improve tremendously on the RTO and RPO.
All right, Margie, thanks so much.
You're welcome, Carrie.
We'll now turn our attentions to print, mail, and digitization. Hi, Aaron Briscoe. Are you out there?
Good afternoon.
So, Aaron, like I said, print mail is perhaps it's because my own background is more of an administrative nature than technological. If I go back into my history, to me, it just makes sense for the print mail space. And now, of course, digitization, which is a relatively new piece of this program for us, that really would speak to those counties. You know, just like the agencies and the cities and everyone, they have to mail things and they have to print things. So tell us a little bit, Aaron, about how they can take advantage of that.
One of the best things about this program is you can have a really, really large entity that can work in this program. On the opposite side of that, you can have an entity that's not as large, smaller, that's going to get the same buying power, the same benefit, the same SLA justifications, all through this program. So that works
Absolutely.
out well for across the board. Any county that's out there could really get a lot of benefit from this. Within print, mail, and digitization, we send out 5 million digital images per month. We mail 10 million envelopes per month. We print about 30 million pages per month, and we purchase about 10 million envelopes per month. One of the good things about this program is the buying power from the full brunt of the program allows a small agency, a small entity, a small county to get the same pricing that a huge agency would get. And it's been structured that way so that anybody from any county can come in and absorb that price and not have to break their budget. The print, mail, and digitization entity is run by Xerox, and we're located within the Austin Data Center. We are driven by SLAs, but we have a focus on security. We handle a lot of information that has PHI, PII, and FTI data, and we're conscious of that with every single envelope, every single piece of paper that we print. We make sure that we're always conscious and knowing that we don't want that to have a negative impact in any way, shape, or form. At the same time, we have to get those images or letters out the door in the time that it's expected by the entity that we're doing it for. We have a fully tested and annually, semi-annually, biannually tested disaster recovery program. We have a off-site disaster center that is located in Pennsylvania. So if we were ever not able to fulfill our services out of the Austin Data Center, we do have another place that we can run our operation from. Next slide, please. One of the more interesting things that we've done recently for a county is print voter registration cards. The county was within the program and they needed to have these done and they had a deadline. It's not something that we had done before, and we set it up very quickly for them in order to make sure that they could meet the deadline that's imposed to get out the voter registration cards. And we were able to merge their data onto the template, ensuring that it was in the color specs that they wanted. And we cut them to the size that they needed to be in and got them out on time. It was very straightforward. It was almost seamless to the county, and it worked out really great. Everybody was happy with that. Next slide, please. So for our space, one of the sweet spots for our space are print and mail. Digitization is new, and we send out about 5 million images per month, but print and mail is where we started, and it's mostly transactional documents like collection letters, notices, specialty documents like registration stickers, titles for vehicles, um, library cards, voter registration cards, uh, envelopes. We procure envelopes for the program. And right now, with everything that's going on, that's become invaluable to the entities within the program because of supply chain disruptions. And whether it's transport or actually mills trying to get paper to make the envelopes. We have been fortunate that we are such big purchasers of envelopes that we're getting put to the top of the list. So when we need to make an order, we're getting priority to get those orders done. We also have standing orders that our vendors are producing automatically because we continually get them. At the end of the day, the best thing about this, from my perspective, is that we can handle those really, really low volume mails, and we can handle the huge mailings that need to go out. And that entity that's sending it gets to have the benefit of both directions of that. Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks so much, Aaron. So now that everyone has learned more, Elise, what comes next?
Hello. So now that you've heard all about these services, you might be wondering what's next. And if you're interested in getting more information or setting up time to speak with one of our SMEs, check out our external portal. In the external portal, you will find several resources available for your inquiries. This is a public-facing website that you can access at any time. A few helpful items might include the service offerings catalog and information about our upcoming webinars. And here's an example of our service offerings catalog. Here you will find our current offerings for your technological needs. As you can see, our primary programs are divided and organized for an easier user experience. In each of these cards, you'll find the link to our interest forms. Here's a picture of our interest forms. Fill it out with all the programs that interest you and make sure to provide additional information if needed. When you fill out a form, it goes directly to my email and I will answer your inquiries. From there, we will get your question routed to the appropriate contact within 2 business days. If you are a current customer, please submit an RFS or contact your designated CRM, as that will save you a step and some time when finding a solution. Finally, it's important to mention that these services are available to all counties. To find out more, please see the external portal's eligibility page to see if your organization qualifies. On the right, you will see the contract document previews, which are essentially the documents your organization will need to sign before receiving services. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. We are now ready to answer any questions.
All right, so for those of you who are watching our chat, I did put the link to our external portal into the chat. If you have follow-up questions after today's presentation, you can reach our team, the MSI Outreach and Growth team, at the email address here on the screen. With that, we appreciate your time for today. Again, this webinar has been recorded and will be posted at the link I just placed into the chat, which is also on this page right here. If you are viewing our screen, you can click on that link right now and visit our external portal. Once again, thanks so much for joining us. We are happy to keep you informed about what's happening in Shared Technology Services and look forward to speaking to you again. Thanks everyone for being with us today.